Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to Kobe's family in the background. Ladies, gentlemen,
Yes.
thank you so much for being here. Welcome. My name is Trav. We've got Whale with us. We have got Kobe Bean with us. And then Quantic, he's trying to figure out some internet connections because he's traveling the world, making crypto a better
Yo, I'm pretty
place.
sure Quantic, it looks like, so we did talk to Quantic before the stream. He did hop on and he looks like somebody has him kidnapped. He's kidnapped in a
Okay.
basement with dial-up internet. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we got that straightened up. Quantic, all the best to you, man. We'll send the Navy SEALs and we'll help you out. Hey, speaking of which, Quantic, good morning, my dude. Are you with us?
Good morning, guys. I was just fixing some issues with the connection. Should be back now. All good. I'm super excited to be here and to talk about Flare. Who would have told? Um,
Who would have thought?
yeah.
What?
I mean, I want to clarify something with our audience that are probably tuning in right now, which is
Yeah.
it's not like I internally pitched this to Trav or
No.
to Kobe or to anyone really. Naturally, we get people asking about it and I'm good to share the information about it, but I'm not going to try to persuade you to buy the token or do whatever. That's up to you, right?
No, zero financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and definitely maybe buy the Flare token. I don't know. We'll see. Quantic, my man.
I'll
Thank you
back
so
that
much.
up. I'll back that up. I'll confirm his story. I'll collude his story. He did not
Collude
bring
the
up the
story.
topic. Yeah.
One thing I will say though, just to add some backup to that message there, Quantic, is that honestly, every single time I tease in a comment on one of your posts there, Quantic, because you've been dropping a lot of alpha when it comes to Flare networks and all of that. Whale, we've had you on here many times now. You've told me about Flare network. I've always been so intrigued because I'm a DeFi junkie at heart. Every single time I tease that we will host a live stream on Flare, we've gotten 1.5, 2K views, natural views in 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours. It's been insane. So this is for you guys. We know you want it, and it's finally here. So where should we get started, guys?
So I was going to propose draft because we do have a lot of people that are into trading. I'm not one of them. I'm a builder, and I think that I've been able to communicate the value proposition of Flare from that point of view. But I do think that it's important for people to have, some perspective about what's happening with the charts and all that. So I remember, Trav, that at some point we did look at Flare with the tool that we have from Sentiment, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. I can see if I can pull that up right now. Were you wanting to take a look at it again, my friend?
Yeah, I think it would make sense because right now the macro is quite clear. Liquidity stopped pouring in, and because of that, and what happens on the 10th of October, a lot of liquidations took place. The market had been bleeding, but the fundamentals for Bitcoin and for the entire industry are very, very strong. So I think it would make sense to kind of take a look at a specific chart and see where we are. And we have Whale there with us as well.
Yes. Whale, welcome, my friend. Why don't you jump on, say hello, let us know who you are.
Hey guys. Yeah, so I'm Whale. I'm a big fan of DeFi, and Flare is my favorite place to do DeFi. And just coming back to what Quantic was saying, as the liquidations were happening on October 10 and everybody was the protocols were halting and everything, I was entering LPs.
Yes.
We did it, I wasn't even worried. I was just entering LPs because I realized that at those levels there was little liquidity and that was a good opportunity. And I've been using all of DeFi and Flare every single day, not even worried about it. I've seen Arbitrum really struggle. I'm doing some arbitrage, so I need to go through Arbitrum to deposit into the exchange. And Arbitrum really struggles sometimes. The gas fees the other day, I was paying $4 for one transaction. And Flare has not even blinked. It's been amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, I am.
Yo, did you say? Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you say? Whale, did you say $4?
Yeah.
For one transaction on Arbitrum, which is usually pennies.
The cheapest. One of the cheapest.
Correct. I really like Arbitrum from the L2s from Ethereum. And yeah, and then coming back to what you were saying about not shielding Flare, I think that the best proof of something working is using it. We are working with Kobe for our tracker, and he's been using the Flare networks and he's been studying it. And I think that he's getting red pill just from using it. Not so much like I never really talk about price. I never do like charts and price expectation. It's just like you use something and it works. And I think that that's the best proof of something that is good, not just the
Dude.
speculative
You know what?
aspect.
I want to interject here, well, because I think that we have not made a great job at communicating something essential when it comes to Flare as an asset, which is the inflation part and the reward part. And so we get a lot of criticism because sometimes the token goes down, but they do not tend to realize that with all the opportunities to get more Flare tokens and with the inflation and whatnot, you can actually, make decent. Let's say, I don't want to say anything that would put me in the spot there, but there are very decent opportunities despite the price going down because of these mechanisms that are playing behind the scenes. And I think that you would be probably the best person to share about how does that work.
For sure. Let's start by the beginning, and then when we get to DeFi, like we can go further into that. But yeah, like Flare has been an insane. Like it went from my smaller bag to now being one of my largest, and it has been like I've been buying some, but mostly has been just doing DeFi and compounding, and the effects of compounding interest is just insane. Like the people that they dismiss at 1%, but if you do that 1% over time, it's insane. The returns are insane.
Okay, I'm looking at 1% in an entirely different light now. Can you maybe explain that a little bit more? I'm super curious 'cause I feel like that's going to be very important context to move forward here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you make 1% a day, I'm doing big. But if you do 1% a day, a lot of people dismiss that. But if you do that in 3 months, you have 100%. So, like a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, I'm not making 10% gains," but if you can consistently make 0.5%, 1% over time, it compounds, and then
Every
1%.
day.
Not saying that every day, but just all I'm saying is that like a lot of people they say, "Oh, it's only 1%," and they dismiss
yeah.
that. But over time, it just compounds because then 1%, if you have 50% more tokens over 6 months, then 1% is 1% of 150% total. So it just starts compounding really fast. It's insane. Like I've been in Flare for since the first Flare drops, like since the airdrop from Flare,
Yeah.
and my bags have grown insane. And I don't even look at the price of Flare. I just see like, okay, how many tokens I have, and what's the potential, and it's just been insane. It's been an insane opportunity.
That's wild. So two follow-up questions for you. Number one, are there any other chains around that are like this or even close? Or is it pretty is Flare like at the top of the pile here?
Well, I mean, of course, there's many tokens and many chains that have great opportunities for DeFi. Bitcoin and Ethereum have been enjoying this DeFi aspect for a long time. We know that Bitcoin and Ethereum have been moving pretty correlated for a long time, but now that we have FXRP on Flare, I actually made a great video about how whatever happens to XRP, the activity on Flare has to follow because the price of FXRP is not directly correlated to the price of XRP on exchanges. So if the price of XRP moves, arbitrage happens, which creates volume, which creates more fees, which then creates more opportunities for LPs or liquidity providers. And that feedback loop, just the flywheel effect, just increases and increases and increases. So now my main LPs are Flare and XRP, which are two tokens that I'm happy to hold long term. And I'm printing fees in Flare and XRP, and I'm extremely happy in those two. And I believe that the more liquidity that happens between Flare and XRP or FXRP, the more correlated that those two tokens are going to move. So if you're bullish on FXRP, there's no way to not be bullish on Flare as well.
Unbelievable. That's okay. The excitement is growing, and I'm actively now having to put effort into containing that excitement. I'm holding it in. I'm keeping myself contained. Next question for you is, what would you say a good for like a brand new investor, someone who's wanting to kind of experiment and likely do very well on Flare? what's kind of like the minimum amount of funds would you suggest to get in to get started?
Well, one of the things, I mean, there's many positive things about Flare, but one of the things that I always recommend is that Flare is extremely cheap. Like the asset, it's 1.5 cents. So you
Wow.
can literally buy a few thousand with a few dollars. And transacting in Flare is so cheap that literally you could start with maybe $5 or $10. And I say
Unreal.
$10 not because you need minimum $10, just because if you have less, it's going to be hard to see the results. But what I recommend to somebody that is new is put in $5 or $10, an amount that it's like if you make a mistake and you lose it, you're not going to cry about it. And
Yes.
just spend time learning. Like you can test borrowing and lending, you can test liquidity pools, and there's many other protocols that are coming live pretty soon. So you can start your journey. That same journey that I've done on Flare would have cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in Ethereum, for example.
Unreal. Okay. Kobe, I see your hand up. Jump in, my friend.
Yeah, dude. So I kind of wanted to talk about just to piggyback off of the DeFi, right? Of like, so what one of the things that that excites me about Flare is the fact that it's like, and this
Tell
will
me.
excite you, and I think it's a perfect transition to
I'm ready.
they call themselves, and I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but it's like the blockchain for data. Oh, it's backwards. Okay. But it's the
Oh,
blockchain for
not on
data,
our side.
right?
It's actually clear.
Oh,
We're good.
okay, sick. Yeah, the blockchain for data, and your classic line, "You had me at data."
You had me at
The
data.
for like, okay, I have a couple bullet points here, but like the first one is so most chains in terms of like price oracles, right? They have, the marketplace of oracles, right? You can get price feeds from people. Shout out to our guy Billy Jitsu from API 3,
Yes.
right? They have a popular price oracle of everyone knows Chainlink, and there's a few other. What Supra is a hot one as well, but they have this like built-in data infrastructure, if you will, with the Flare time series Oracle FTSO, native Oracle to the network, right? And so basically, how that works, and both of the Flare bros in here can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, validators decide on what price feeds to pump into the FTSO. Then every round of validation or voting round, they all validate that data, and then they output it into the FTSO, aka their Oracle, right? And so you can pull that data for free, right on. I think for free, yeah, for free, right on Flare with like any applications that you build. And then the second thing, so yeah, that's pretty badass for one. And if the validators want to add a asset, I'm pretty sure they probably go through a governance proposal in order to add an asset.
That's cool.
And so on the other hand, there is, I think, a cap of 1,000 price feeds that they can put on the FTSO right now. But after speaking with the Flare team, the last time I did, the plan is to scale that up over time, right? So, but they don't even have 1,000 assets in there right now. So, and so the second thing is the Flare data connector, or like the state connector, the real world truth machine, if you will. And so I
Please tell me
actually
more.
kind of I went down this rabbit hole working with Whale and with Flare Forward on DeFi Tracker Pro, their portfolio tracking app and like DeFi tracking app. And how we're using it is we're using the Flare data connector to basically confirm that transactions are happening on chain, right? So we're kind of doing like a unique use case, and I won't go too far into the details. I don't want to spill all the sauce quite yet. But essentially, you can take data or events, right? So the way we're doing it is we're taking an on-chain event and we're putting that transaction hash into the FDC, the Flare data connector. And then on that same voting round for the validators, they also validate that transaction that you're reporting actually happened on chain. And then it outputs some data as well for you to use that data as well. And so right now, I believe it's only Web3, like on-chain stuff they can validate. But Whale sent me a governance proposal that they put on the 20th, I believe, 20th or 21st, to bring forward something that they're doing only on testnet, which is the Web2, like to be able, they call it to attest the data, which is basically validate the data, uh, to bring Web 2 data, like let's say the price, or I mean the weather in Toronto, right? The weather in Toronto at noon. Well, that seems lame, but you could make a predictions market and have on-chain attested
Oh.
data using, I'm betting that the temperature is going to be whatever, and then Trav's betting it's going to be whatever because he, is Canadian, so he's probably going to win that bet.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely gonna be snowy
yeah, right.
and
And then yeah,
absolutely
pipe that.
terrible because it's Toronto. I'm sorry. I gotta say it.
Uh,
I got you.
what city are you closest to? I don't want to actually. You don't have to answer that. I want to dox your location,
That's
but
okay. Close to Vancouver. I'm like an hour east of
okay,
Vancouver. So come at
okay,
me,
yeah, that's
Toronto.
right, that's right. So
So,
yeah, we could bet
guys,
on the price of the weather there. Go ahead, Q.
you can do that actually. It's an interesting use case. But something that I want to highlight about this thing with the Flare data connector is that there is a lot of money to be made on the kind of data that you're going to bring on chain and how you're going to allow that to build new things in the sense of tokenizing stuff. Why? Because there is a lot of protocols right now that are tokenizing real world assets, stocks, everything will be tokenized and will eventually live on chain. And the best way to go about it is to bring the data in a verifiable way and that is also transparent and compliant.
I
So
love
I've
that.
been working with a few teams now that are actually checking out how they can bring like, interesting use case from the corporate world on chain so that they can operate and create new DeFi primitives. And I think that this is going to unlock massive amount of value and it's like very hard for CT degens to see this because they have no idea what a corporate bond is, what are corporate actions, and how you can create like new DeFi primitives on top of this by creating protocols and bringing this data on chain. So just wanted to let you know that there is people working on this that are going to bring in like a completely new angle that we haven't seen before.
Unreal. Okay,
Oh,
so just to kind of like wrap my brain around this, this is uncharted waters. This is something we've never seen on any other blockchain before. Is that correct, Quantic?
So we do have seen other, I don't know, real world assets protocol attempting to do this, but it's very different from what Flare is going to be doing just because we have a general purpose technology that will allow you to go in a very specific direction if you want, or to keep it very general if that's something that adds more value to your decentralized application. And on top of that, we have these small teams that are building things that we haven't seen before, mostly because a lot of the builders they are not creative enough. A lot of the
Mhm.
time what they do, they just copycat whatever is there. So if there is a real world asset protocols working with, I don't know, stocks or whatever, they're gonna just fork that and work on that. But we do have a culture of innovating at Flare, and we do have people that are gonna bring things that are kind of unique for sure.
Got you. Okay, it's coming together in my brain here. I do want to say here, real quick, guys, just a quick side tangent is that first of all, we are trending on Live on X. We are trending to be one of the more successful live streams that we've had so far. We've been chatting for just over 20 minutes, and we're already pushing 100 viewers. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you being here. Really excited to be able to talk about this with you guys today. If you have it in your heart, in return, if you could just engage with this live stream, give it a like, give it a repost, give it a comment, maybe even comment on a comment. The alpha, the real sauce is to give it a bookmark here. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right back into it. Whale, I think you've been wanting to chat with us, so why don't you? Oh, is Whale gone? Is Whale gone? Whale's gone, isn't he? I don't see him.
oh,
As
bummer,
soon as I
bummer.
started
Yo,
talking, as soon as I started talking about the alpha, he
There
went
he is.
offline and he went directly into trading. Oh, here he
Yes,
is, back again.
exactly. Buy more flare. Whale,
So
welcome back, my man.
thank you. One thing that I would like to say, that Kobe is talking about the Flare data connector, but the FTSO and the prices, we know that the liquidation that happened on October 10th was due to bad price feeds, and very little people got liquidated on Flare network. I mean, other
Wow.
than the price decreasing, the glitch on the prices did not affect the Flare network. And I think that that's one of the biggest value propositions of the Flare network, that if you're
That's huge.
working with value, if you can't trust the price feeds, then how can you trust that your value is still going to be there if one glitch can get you liquidated? So for me, that was one of the biggest things. And a lot of protocols were going down under and they were having like liquidity issues and they had to halt. And Flare network was just going on because the prices were being fetched from different sources and then they were being verified by different. So right now, Flare network has the only decentralized oracles in the whole space. So that is very powerful because that allows you to trust that you can set much more value in the network without worrying about a glitch messing up your investment.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm actually this is a really important point here, and it kind of speaks to like the longevity of a blockchain of a network here. Can you break down that event? I'd be super curious to kind of hear a little bit more about that liquidation event from your perspective on what exactly went down. Because is this the one in October that happened where there was something like $20 billion plus in liquidations in one single day? That was even worse than the FTX collapse.
Yeah, so don't quote me because I don't have the information right in front of me, but what I understand that happened is that I think the Binance stablecoin depegged for like 40% lower. So instead of showing $1,
Wow,
I think Chainlink had a
60
mess up,
cents.
and then it went to like 60 cents, and that created like a cascading liquidation event where one
Unreal.
bad price feed creates some liquidations that drop the price, and then that just created like a cascading event. So that came from one centralized price feed that for whatever reason showed a bad price that then created the liquidation, and then that was just like a cascading event. So Flare network did not have that problem because of the decentralized oracles. Because if you have bad bad price feed, that noise gets filtered out. And I think
Understood.
that was super important, and that's why I was entering liquidity pools right after, when everybody was panicking and stressing out because they couldn't withdraw their
Mm.
liquidity.
Got you. And then the reason why you would have entered the liquidity pools is because the way it works with fees and liquidity pools is the more transactions that happen, the more you get rewarded, the higher kind of that API or that API goes or APY, pardon me. So
Yes.
yeah.
So what happened is that we were trading XRP around 280,
Hmm.
and then at some point we were trading at 240 or 230, I think. And because nobody was expecting that price drop, there was very little liquidity. So people still need to trade at that price feed. So if you put $1,000 and there's very little liquidity, then you have a big share of the pool. So any
Mm.
transactions that go, most of the fees goes to you. So that was my
Got you.
strategy. Yeah. Because you have
Brilliant.
the 100% of the liquidity that is being used, and then you have a share of that liquidity. And then the fees that get paid, the more share of the liquidity that you have, the more fees that you get.
Okay. First bit of alpha. When you have liquidation events like this, I'm only going to speak for the Flare network because clearly this one's quite a bit more resilient than other networks here. Plop some funds in liquidity pools. And that sounds like just an incredible strategy based on all of that there, Whale. That's like, okay, I'm going to be setting my radars. I'm going to be turning my radars on now. I'm not going to say I'm going to hope for another liquidation event because that was absolutely atrocious. But if one does happen, I'm going to have some liquidity ready to deploy.
Yeah. So for example, XRP traded below $2 a few weeks ago. So
Mhm.
I saw that we were going down. So I entered a single side, like only with stable coins below the price, because depending on your trading range, you can enter on both assets or only one. So I enter only with stable coins below the price
Okay.
from 170 to $2. So as we were trading there, I was making fees. And then now that we came back up, I'm back to my initial and I get to keep the fees. I think I made like 2% in 3 days. And that's what I was
Jeez.
saying. I mean, it wasn't a massive amount of capital, but that's just a way that you can trade it. The same thing can happen if you think that there's going to be a profit taking spot. You could enter only with the single as like crypto, and you set the range above you. So you're trading. And then when you come back down, you're back to with your initial capital and you get to keep the fees. And we have to understand that at certain ranges, there's a lot of activity and a lot of trading happening. Like volatility can be a gift if you know how to harvest it.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, and that sounds like a quite a bit more of a safer bet than simply directional trading or leverage trading, hoping the market goes up or down. You know, here you can just kind of rest in that relatively safe price target, and then just let the price do whatever it will, and just take in the profit as it's happening. Kind of reminds me, I don't know. Well, let's not get into this because this is not important, but it kind of reminds me of different stock options play where you actually win the more volatile the asset is here. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to learn a lot more about this here. So just because we lost Quantic again, I know he's still probably in somebody's basement at the moment, but that's okay. Marines are on the way. he he asked that I pull up the data for Flare on sentiment so we could have a quick look. We don't have a huge amount of data here available, but I'll definitely share it here with us. But then, what do you guys think about? I was gonna ask Quantic to maybe give us a bit more of a general overview about Flare, but he's not here again in the basement. But that is what it is. But why don't we take a look at some different, some actual different, like lending, borrowing, like liquidity pool, like sites. That's not, no one uses that word anymore. DApps, actual, like get some screen share going on, and we'll actually explore some different actual places where somebody can get started right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Whale
Let's
would
do
be
it.
the guy for that. I know he's probably got positions on all of them.
Yes.
No Ave on Flare though. Win Ave. If Quantic was still here, I would say win Ave. But you know, I'm sure Whale's going to show us and tell us why the options on Flare are still quality. No doubt. I mean, look, the liquidity's there. The liquidity is there for sure. Yeah, I'll stop there actually.
That no, you'd never have to stop. Oh, Quantic's back. Excellent. Welcome back, my friend. I hope they're treating
He's
you
lucky
well.
he left. He's lucky he left, bro. I was about to pry on what he was talking about. The creative use cases of the FDC there and the money making opportunities. So I'm gonna have
Oh,
to
damn.
stay on you on that. But yeah, we got whale screen showing. I'll kick it over to you guys.
Actually, yeah.
All right.
So real quick here, sorry, before you jump in there, Whale. Quantic, just to like keep you updated, I do have Flare pulled up on Sentiment, but there's not a crazy amount of data here. So Whale actually pulled up the Dune Analytics dashboard here for Flare. So we're gonna dive into that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
feel
right,
free,
because that will
Quantic,
give
too.
you an overview of Flare facet. So please go ahead, Will.
Yeah, feel free to jump in if you want to say something. So right now we have 65.5 million FXRP minted on the Flare network, which is insane. This is the price, the market cap. You can see here how many mints and redemptions happen every day. The total value locked right now is $144 million. Number of holders has been increasing consistently. So right now we have 5,500 holders. We have the community rewards, and then let me see what else do we have. DeFi. This is what I wanted to show you guys.
I'm super intrigued here. Oh, wow.
So we have the locked FXRP. As you can see, we have 45 million. So that's almost 70% of the minted FXRP is in DeFi. And one thing that a lot of people have been talking about is the ETF inflows and what happens to that circulating supply once a lot of big hedge funds starts accumulating XRP. And I think that one thing that people are missing is that locked XRP on DeFi also takes out of circulating supply, XRP out of the circulating supply. Because if you have a loan on Kinetic or soon on Enosis, like you're not unwinding that loan any day soon. So that XRP gets locked and it's out of circulation. So what happens when there's more demand and less supply? I'll let you guys interpret that. Let me see. The DeFi transactions is 800,000 in what, 2 months? It's insane.
Wow.
The liquidity, the 27,000 transactions. Right now we have most of the activity on Kinetic. Where is it? Yeah. So we have 42 million XRP locked on Kinetic, and then we have a bunch of liquidity pools. And this is what I was saying. We have supplied 42 million, and we have borrows against that in USDT 0. So we have 2 million on liquidity pools, on Enosis, and then this. So we have, yeah, almost 4 million XRP locked on liquidity pools. It's insane, guys. I think that this is super exciting. I can show you here. This is my liquidity pools from the tracker. So for example, this one I started with $3,900 of XRP and Flare. Right now, the value is 3,900. And this LP, I'm not really thinking about the numbers in terms of US dollars, but in terms of how much crypto I'm accumulating. And that's what Quantic was saying before. Because like a few days ago, this was 3,600, but I'm accumulating Flare and XRP. So that's pretty great. My average APR for the last 15 days, 14 days is 67%. And then I have 2 tighter range liquidity pools I can show you on the graphs. And this is giving around 130%. So these 2 LPs are out of range right now, but still, like, it's insane. In 8 days, I made $31 from 1,000. So that's pretty great. If I open here, I can see that in this LP, my projection for fees is $6.86 every day, $200 monthly, and $2,500 yearly. And this is not considering the volatility. Like if XRP went half, this would be half, but if XRP goes to $4, this would be double. Same thing for Flare that I'm accumulating. So
sorry, that's just fees, right? That doesn't take into account like increase in value
incentives
for XRP or Flare, right?
So this is taking into consideration the current value of the assets that I'm making. So like if I made 20 XRP and 3,000 Flare at current value, this is the projection. This changes every day with the volatility. And this is only considering fees. There's no incentives here. So this is real numbers, because the incentives at some point we know that they're going to go away. So this I'm not taking into consideration the reward Flare. I'm only considering fees, which is like actual numbers that you can expect to have.
So I think I missed something here. So the Flare reward, that's the incentive you're talking about. Is that just extra bonus Flare that you receive for holding your FXRP and your Flare in a liquidity pool?
Correct. So if I go to Spartex and then go to farm, here it is. So for example, if you're in the FXRP USDT 0, you can see that the fees in this LP is giving an average of 15%, and the reward Flare is an extra 46%.
Unreal.
So, yeah. And then we have to remember that the fees are always based on like the average 24 hours. And then if you have more concentrated liquidity, it's higher. And if you have a wider range, it's a little bit lower. But the reward Flare, it's fixed. So this is the incentives that Quantic was talking about a few minutes ago. And then like this one also has a reward Flare. Like even the stablecoin pairs, for example, these two, you're getting reward Flare. So like if you deposit stablecoin to stablecoin, like USDT and USDC, you're receiving 18%. So the fees are minimum in this LP, but you're getting 80%. So this is a way that you can, like a lot of people, and this is another opportunity that you don't even have to buy Flare to accumulate Flare. Like if you have ETH, if you have stablecoins, you can participate in Flare DeFi and accumulate Flare indirectly without having to buy any Flare.
Unreal. Okay, I'm chomping at the bit here to get started.
The incentives are just crazy, as you can see, Trav. And from my account, you will never see me promoting like token shilling or anything like that. I provide information about the platforms because it takes like how much time? 5 minutes to take a look at these numbers, do the math, and see that you can easily just park some FXRP or some stable coins and start farming big. And obviously, this is not going to last forever. So,
get started, I think is how I'm interpreting that. I want to clarify one thing here. I know we spoke about this on other live streams, but for anyone who may have missed it, I know we have a ton of viewers here right now with us. Can you guys kind of talk to us a little bit one more time about why FXRP is such an awesome thing and what exactly it is?
For sure. Do you want to
Sure.
go, Quantic?
Yeah, so the first thing that people should understand is that right now what we're doing is, on one hand, we are enabling XRP holders to gain yield. They used to have zero yield, so whatever it is that they can get with us is going to be good. And I can assure you that it's going to continue to improve. Right now, we're about 4%, perhaps, depending on what you're looking at. Um, so that's one thing. But the other side of the equation that a lot of the builders are now noticing is that by bringing the XRP liquidity into the EVM ecosystem, there is a bunch of new products that you can create. And here it comes Firelight, right? They're working on a solution to ensure like blue chip protocols on the EVM side utilizing XRP liquidity and making a lot of institutions utilizing this because what they want the most is security.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm not sure if I understood that in the same way last time here, but before Flare, there was you just basically could only buy and hold XRP, but now you can actually
Correct.
put it to work on the Flare network. And I know for sure XRP, there is a huge ride or die following for that asset here. People have been holding XRP now for since I've showed up in like by 5 years ago now. So like that's a huge value add, and especially with some of those incentives and these liquidity pools, and it just okay, yep, I need to start stacking some Flare and or XRP and Flare, going back and forth here. So that's massive. Okay, I like it. Anything else you guys wanted to add before we jump back to the screen share here?
No, dude, I'm just soaking it in, man. This is like Whale said, I'm kind of like indirectly kind of being red pilled already just by working on the
Yeah,
network. And like
100%.
the fact that I was able to take a piece, and this is like something like super simple, like the fact that I was able to take a piece of on-chain data, send it through the validator nodes, and have them validate that it happened, so that data is even more enriched, which I think is the verbiage they like to use, or enshrined. That just, yeah, I'm super bullish. So continue.
Very, very cool. All right. Actually, while I have this up here, just looking at the actual price of XRP, I'm maybe I will just share, or actually, you know what? I'll do that later. Right now, Will, you got this locked and loaded. Why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about what you've got here? I'm very excited. Oh, you're muted, my friend.
All right, sorry.
All
So
good.
one thing that we have to understand is that DeFi, you are actually providing a service, because a lot of people, they always ask, why, like, where is the yield coming from? And in DeFi, what you have to understand is that you're providing a service. So when you're doing liquidity pools, you are offering your liquidity in a certain trading range so that other people can trade on a decentralized exchange. So what happens is that the price of XRP moves against the price of XRP is moving. It goes up and it goes down. And then what happens is that arbitrage needs to happen to bring that price back to balance. So like, let's say that XRP on the centralized exchange goes down 2%, then those trades need to happen on the Flare network so that FXRP is trading at a similar price range that in the centralized exchanges. That is called arbitrage. So the more liquidity that you have, because like, let's say that you have $1,000 in a liquidity pool, if you trade more than $50, you're going to move the price and it's going to come back to range. But if you had $100 million in a liquidity pool, then there has to be a lot of volume to move those 2 cents and bring it back to the price of the centralized exchange. So that is called arbitrage. The more arbitrage that happens, the more volume that happens through the liquidity pools, the more fees that get paid to the liquidity providers. So this is called the liquidity flywheel. So the more arbitrage, more volume, more fees, then more people are depositing in the liquidity pools. So then to that arbitrage to happen, more volume needs to go by the Flare network. So there's more fees. And then this is just keeps growing and growing and growing. For example, here, this is my Flare FXRP ranges that I have. And as you can see,
can I just take a quick moment and just kind of geek out over how lovely and crisp and clean this graph is? I'm just like drooling over this data here. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, for sure. So as you can see, if we go, I'll show you the DeFi Yama correlation matrix. But Flare has been moving pretty correlated between Flare and XRP. So what I did is I have 3 LPs. The yellow line is 1 LP. This is my wide range. And then I have 2 overlapping LPs at a much tighter range. So right now, Flare has been pumping a little bit. So now I'm out of range in these 2 LPs, but I'm still in range in the yellow one. And one thing that I do is I never rebalance right away. So right now I'm going to wait till the weekend goes by and see what happens with this price range. And then if I have to, then I might drag this a little bit higher and then just wait to be in range again. But one thing to note is that this ratio between Flare and XRP, this could be happening if XRP is at $10 or if XRP is at $20. It just depends on the ratio between XRP and Flare. So
okay, so it's I could see how it's a safer bet. It's like balancing or going into like a Bitcoin Ethereum pool. A lot of the times they are correlated. So if one goes up, the other one goes up. Whereas if you did something like USDC and Bitcoin, the higher Bitcoin goes, the broader the gap, and then it's going to exit those ranges. Does that make sense?
Correct. So if you have a fixed price like a stable coin, then that is always going to be static against the other one. So any volatility, it's moving against the static. But if we go to the 1 year between XRP and Flare, you can see that it's 0.5. That means that it's not very correlated. But as we start moving into the shorter time frames, 1 month is 0.9. 1 would be perfectly correlated. And then in the 7 days, because of this movement, it's showing a little bit less. But 0.8 in correlation is still pretty high, in my opinion. So, yeah, guys, I mean, there's so much opportunity right now on the Flare networks, and I think December is going to be really exciting. We have Firelight coming, so that's going to be staking for XRP. There's some DeFi insurance coming. You were talking about Aave, Kobe. So basically, the idea is that Firelight is going to be able to put insurance against protocol hacks or smart contract failures on Aave, and you're going to be using XRP as insurance for anything happening. So that is going to bring a lot of XRP into the Flare networks, and it's also going to bring a lot of value to XRP, because the more of these protocols that happens, there's more utility for XRP. There's more reasons to hold XRP, and that is a very important thing, because it's the XRP that gets locked and it's taken out of circulation, but also the more reasons that you now have for holding XRP. And
there's a bunch of sitting XRP too that people are just having their wallets that they aren't staking on. I think you can probably stake it on like some centralized exchanges, but you're not contributing to the network and you're not doing anything like that. So it's kind of just like Ponzi-nomic staking. And so there's a lot of XRP on the sideline waiting to flood into these like DeFi mechanisms, vehicles, right? So yeah, exciting stuff. TVL and volume is going crazy also.
Well, one thing to note is, for example, Uphold offered staking for Flare, and it's giving 4% per year. If you stake on the Flare networks, you're getting around 2% per month.
Per month. Okay.
Like between the Flare drops and the staking, you're getting around 2% per month. Just to give you an idea of the difference between using a centralized service that other people are taking the yield for you, and they're giving you like breadcrumbs, and actually learning how to do this stuff, and then you can really take advantage.
I love it. Okay, Quantic, I saw you were wanting to jump in. Actually, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you a story that I haven't shared before to illustrate how this thing is going to play out, which is during DevConnect, I was at the multi-chain day, which is, a lot of people from different business coming together and a lot of builders. So at some point, there was a guy asking me about Flare Smart Accounts, which is this technology that enables you to mint FXRP without even touching Flare for the user, right? Everything happens on the back end, and the user only utilizes their XRP, and then it gets like yield, and that's it. And the person was super interested into this, and I was sharing all of the details because I thought he was a leader. A developer, not a leader. And at some point, I realized he shares with me that he's actually a leader of one of these custody platforms that holds, I don't know how many millions of XRP. So he wanted to bring that on from Flare, utilizing this technology. And of course, we are now connected and we are working together to see how we can make that happen. But you see, institutions, exchanges, and custodies of different digital assets are now coming to the realization that they can offer a one-click solution to give yield for millions of XRP. And this is something that is going to happen and that we have been waiting to happen for some time. And, not that many people are still aware of it.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Okay, I have a question here. So I remember back when I was doing a lot of concentrated liquidity and research for Web3 Matters, shout out Web3 Matters here. One of the things that I realized was that sometimes a higher TVL isn't always more profitable for a liquidity pool. From what I remember, there's a bit of a balance. The higher the TVL, the more stable and the more safe the pool is to jump into. But the lower it is, maybe I'm not using the right term here actually, but the lower you can have more, you have a bigger cut of the pie, if that makes sense. Can you guys clarify that? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so the higher the TVL, the less manipulation that can happen in an LP. But then if you have $1,000 in a $10,000 LP, then you have 10% of the share. If you have the same $1,000 in a $100 million LP or TVL, then you have a very, very small share of the pie.
Gotcha.
So, and I think that that's the other opportunity. Right now, we don't have any institution, like big institution joining on the Flare networks for FXRP. So like everything, the early adopters get the benefits of taking the risks. So yeah, I mean, at some point, you're going to need to have a lot of capital to actually make a difference in an LP.
So the time is now, is what you're saying.
If not now, when?
When? This is the
Yes, I
million-dollar
love
question.
that. I love that. I love that. Yo, I got to run. I know they're probably like, yo, is he ever going to come out of the room? I'm here at a second Thanksgiving. But yeah, I just want to say, since the other guys won't say it, I'll say it. To buy Flare, I bought my first bag of Flare last night.
Yes.
Went long on Bitcoin and turned my profits into, I paid one bill and bought Flare. So
Yes.
heck
Okay.
yeah.
How does that
Appreciate
red
you coming
pill?
on, everybody.
How does that red pill taste? Is it all right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. The best tasting part is that it has nothing to do with the price. Like,
I love it.
I think maybe last night on the 4-hour Flare crossed the 200 moving average, and I'm like, all right, dude, why not? Why not? That's kind of my indicator, bearish or bullish. 200 moving average on like higher time frames, especially, and so that was the first time I even gave a shit about the token price. Like,
That's awesome.
but I was like inclined to buy it before even knowing anything about the chart. So that says a lot for somebody who, I like to do a lot of TA. I'm not a moon boy. I'm definitely not a moon boy, but I appreciate a good chart for sure. So it's kind of a switch up for me. So that says a lot. So red pill tastes good. It's a little chalky,
It's a little chalky,
but
it's got
but yeah, dude.
yeah. It's got class. Before you
Yes.
go as well there, Kobe, I do just want to let all you guys know actually that we were hanging out, like literally 3 minutes ago, we were hanging out at about 160 viewers. We just bumped up to over 300 viewers that are with us now live. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation here. Really, really excited to be able to share this with you guys here today. I'm super excited to be learning all this stuff today. I have been out of DeFi now for like a year and a half, and I am jumping back in there. I'm taking that red pill with you there, Kobe, and we're gonna make this happen. So, dude, happy Thanksgiving. We'll chat with you soon. And yeah, Quantic, Whale, let's get back into this. So here's my challenge for the remainder of I'm not sure how much time you guys have. Usually we only have this going on for about an hour here. So we'll kind of aim for that. If you guys have some more time, by all means, we can keep this running here. But one thing I'd like to accomplish is, Whale, if you could kind of walk us through a strategy, like a DeFi strategy for a beginner and a DeFi strategy for someone who's willing to take a little bit higher risk. Would you be interested in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky to tell people what to do with their money. I mean, I think that the real way to do it is you need to have like flight hours. Like
Mm,
you go through pilot school and then you have to fly, and then one day you lose an engine, one day you're landing a little bit short. So really, DeFi, the superpower is being able to observe and understand what's happening and being able to adapt. Because if I
got
give
you.
you a strategy right now, in a week might not be applicable anymore.
Mm,
So my recommendation is just like I said before, get a little bit of flair, play with it, explore borrowing and lending, explore LPs, and start getting some experience until you are at the point where you feel comfortable looking at the charts, looking at the market, and making decisions. Because I don't know, I don't like telling people what to do. I like telling people how to do it so that they can have enough tools that then they can make their own choices based on the
But I would
experience that
argue
they have.
there are some very like low risk operations that you can think anyone on DeFi would probably perform. So one of them that I can mention explicitly is utilizing your stable coins, right? Everyone who's like serious on DeFi has an allocation of stable coins because that's how the game works. And you can bring those stable coins to Flare. We have pools for USDT zero and for USDC, well, via Stargate. And you can play with that, and with that you will get Flare rewards that then you can utilize on these other DeFi protocols for borrowing and lending, for LPing on Spardex, and then in the future, of course, there will be more things that you're gonna be able to do with Firelight and Spectra as well. Uh, so yeah, I see that you're projecting here Kinetics and FXRP. You can easily, for instance, try and supply FXRP with very low risk for a total API of almost 4%, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, so that is correct. So that could be like a low risk strategy that doesn't require that much understanding. It's you supply some FXRP, you try to borrow below 40% TVL or value locked. So if you have $1,000, you borrow less than $400. So that gives you a good buffer before you get liquidated. And then you could go to Spartex, enter one of the stablecoin liquidity pools. So what that means is that even though you have debt, you still have those stablecoins. You're not converting those stablecoins to a volatile asset. So if your health factor starts going down, then you withdraw from the liquidity pools and then you pay it back.
mm,
So that could be
got
a
you.
very basic, it's not the highest return that you will ever get, but it's also low risk because whatever you're borrowing, you have it here and then you can just repay it at any given time. So that's a good move. I agree with Quantic. We will have Firelight coming up next week, December 3rd, and that is going to be also like a low risk. We're going to have staked XRP and FXRP. And because we know that staked XRP is going to be going up a little bit higher every month, that is also a very correlated pair that could also be a good place to put liquidity pool. So yeah, there's different things that you can do that are not so crazy. And then you can also borrow against your Flare. So if you have Flare, you could do the same thing. You can deposit S Flare, which is staked Flare. It's giving Flare drops and staking rewards every month. So the value of your S Flare is increasing every month. And then you borrow stable coins and then you could enter this. So that
Mm,
is one of the most like basic strategies that you could apply right now. And maybe you're paying 5% in stable coins, but you're making around 15% net yield on Flare, which is pretty nice. If you think that Flare, if you zoom out and you think that that's going to be a long-term move, that could be a good way to get going for sure.
I love it. That's massive here. Okay. So, and then could you maybe go over the one more time here the different dApps that you can actually deposit your funds into here, just so that that's
For
fresh on
sure.
people's minds?
Let me open this guy. So Kinetic. Wait, let me do something first. F assets. This is one of the official pages for minting FXRP. We have this one and there's another one. I can't remember exactly where that is, but
Perfect.
basically
Can you tell me
here,
what that is? I'm just gonna type it in chat here.
yeah. So let me copy paste it to you.
Ah, awesome. Thank you, dude.
So
Perfect.
here you have the homepage. So here you can see the circulating supply of FXRP.
Mhm.
And then you can have all this information that I recommend that you guys check it. And then down here, this is a good way because one of the biggest issues with DeFi is that if you navigate to the wrong site, then your funds can be at risk. And scammers are like cockroaches. They come out from everywhere. And what they do is that they clone the Kinetic page. So instead of being in the right site, you're in the wrong site, and then you're approving stuff that doesn't really work. So if you go to this site, fassets.au.cc, and then from here you can navigate to the original sites. And then what I recommend is that once you do this, you bookmark them, and that way you can be sure that whatever site that you're visiting is the good one. Google, like searching on Google for DeFi, it's a really bad idea. Like always
Yeah.
navigate to the really bad idea.
100%.
So Kinetic Market, it's at kinetic.market. Let me also paste it here. This is a borrowing and lending protocol on the Flare network, similar to Aave or Compound on Ethereum. And then here you can lend all of these assets. And like Quantic was saying, all of these have some Flare incentives. So Flare ETH is the staked ETH. So if you deposit it, you're making 0.6% on the supply, but you're also making 8 or almost 9% on Flare. S-Flare, same. This one has very little, but this one is accumulating Flare drops and staking rewards, so that's pretty juicy anyways.
Wow.
Like if you have some USDC, you're getting almost 6% on USDC, and then you're getting an extra 8% on Flare by supplying USDC.
Unreal.
USDT, this market is not active anymore. This is just like a old deposit that people haven't withdrawn. But now we have USDT 0, which is the what's the name? It's the Omni-chain version of USDT. And then here, same, you're making 2.6% by supplying it, but you're making 16% in Flare. So
Unbelievable.
that's pretty great. ETH, same thing. And then FXRP and USDT. So this is for borrowing and lending. This is a great way to put your capital to work. And not only that, because, for example, last year I wanted to buy a drone. And instead of selling my Flare, I borrow against it. I bought my drone. And then with my DeFi profits, I've been paying that debt back on my own terms. So this is like a great become your
That's
own bank.
fantastic. Man, I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
bye-bye banks.
For sure. I mean, I don't have to
Yeah.
ask for permission. No one is chasing me for payment. As long as I have enough collateral, I don't really have to pay back my debt at any time soon.
Yeah.
And if we have a nice price appreciation, technically you would never have to pay that debt back. Because if
That's
we have
incredible.
like if we have a big bump in price, then you have so much more collateral than that debt. So then you don't really have to worry about it. After that, we have Spartex, which is one of the main dexes on the Flare networks. Here, you can swap from any asset on the Flare network to any other asset on the Flare network. And these guys, actually, it's pretty cool because they have a DEX aggregator, which is OpenOcean. So when you do a swap on Spartex, even if there's better liquidity on some of the other dexes, it's still routing through those dexes. So you're not limited only to the liquidity on Spartex. This is great. You can even set up like limit orders on Spartex. You set up the price, you set up when the expiry. So let's say that you're like, okay, I think that XRP could go to $2 within the next 2 weeks. You could set up a limit order and then you forget about it. You have perpetuals, which is great. And here you can like all of these assets that you can trade. It's pretty nice. And then you can use FXRP, Flare, or USDT 0 as your collateral for the perpetuals. And then there's a leaderboard here, which also gives a big chunk of a reward Flare for people that are trading here. Like this guy. This guy is a full degen, but this is like over $1,000 in reward Flare just for trading FXRP. Yeah, this is insane. You have the LPs here. You can open LPs. This is just some examples that I have. You can do automatic, which I don't like automatic LPs because if you have price volatility, you might get rebalance.
Yeah, I wanted to ask something kind of in relation to that. Well, from your point of view as a user, there are a bunch of LPs on Spardex. Which one would be like the one with the lowest risk according to you? And how would
I
you
think the
recommend
stablecoin.
taking
I think the stablecoin LPs, as I was showing, CUSDX is from HexTrust. It's backed by US treasuries. So this is like a real world asset on the Flare network. And I think that the lowest risk realistically would be these two pools, because even though there's a little bit of volatility inside the stablecoins, but your value will not change drastically. If you go to the ETH and USDT zero, you might experience big chunks of impermanent loss. So from a low risk perspective, I would definitely think that these two guys, the ETH to the staked ETH is also a good one. The Flare to the stake Flare is also a good one because you can predict the price movement. And now that we have the Flare drops ending, this is going to be even more predictable because the change in price every month is going to be less. And then I'm in this one, Flare XRP and Wrap Flare, because of the reasons that I said, that even if we have a great volatility spike, I am happy to hold my asset, like either asset. If I'm fully converted into XRP or fully converted into Flare, I'm happy to do so. I have this, back to this. So things that I look for in a liquidity pool, are the assets correlated? That is an important one. Are these assets I'm happy to hold long term? If the answer is no, I would never enter a liquidity pool. Sometimes that's a big problem, that you see a meme coin exploding. So you go and you see a 1500% APR, and that's only the last 24 hours. So you ape in, and then the next thing you know, you have 100% of the meme coin and zero of the valuable asset, and then the meme coin went to zero. So that is not
Tragic.
sustainable. This is what you were talking before. Is there enough liquidity on the DEX? Ideally, you want to have more than 1 million locked on that pool, because if it's 100,000, there can be a lot of manipulation, and then you're in range, out of range, in range, out of range, and then you have to rebalance. And then the other thing is, what am I trying to achieve by entering this LP? Because like coming back to what you were saying about integrating strategies. So let's say that I want to have more stable coins. So then if I think that the prices are going to go up, I could borrow some stable coins against my assets, enter a liquidity pool, and then as the prices are going up, I have more fees, and I also have more USDT zero value or stablecoin value. So that could be one strategy. The other strategy, which is kind of what I was saying, is I want to hold more Flare and I want to hold more XRP. So then I'm in that LP because that is what I'm trying to achieve. So have clear goals, and then based on those goals, what are you trying to do? If we go back to the stablecoin liquidity pools, maybe you are like, okay, I don't necessarily want to have more stables because there's no volatility in a liquidity pair, but I want to accumulate Flare. So in that case, I say, okay, I have this amount of stable coins. I'm going to put them here so people can trade, and I'm going to get the incentives for Flare by doing so. So those are kind of my rules for entering liquidity pools, and I think that that's a good start. After that, if we go to F assets, we have Enosis. This is another DEX. This one over here, my experience is that if you're want to take it like more relaxed and not have to be rebalancing too much, Spartex pays better fees for wider ranges. But if you're more of a degen and you want to be with tighter ranges, then Enosis pays much better fees. But you just have to manage your liquidity pools much more. We also have more markets, which this is a Bolt, and it's like an automatic. They're doing different DeFi strategies for you. I haven't really explored much of more markets. Maybe Quantic has a little bit more information on that. And then we have BlazeSwap, which is a B2 style. So that's a 50-50 and your full range at all times.
Wait, I think there is something to mention about Enosis and their upcoming CDP. How are you thinking people will utilize this? Because this is a new use case for XRP and for FXRP. So maybe you have some insights on that from the user's perspective.
For sure. So if we go back to Kinetic, this is a borrowing and lending. So basically what's happening is that you're providing a service by lending your assets. so that other people can pay you an interest by borrowing those assets. So let's say that somebody has to borrow or lend $1,000, and then those $1,000 become available for me to borrow by providing collateral. So this in a way you have a counterparty. And when you go to a Gnosis loan, which is a CDP, which stands for collateral depositions, here you create your own loan by providing collateral. So here you're not borrowing anyone's assets, and then you can also manage your interest rates. And then if you do a higher interest rate, your loan is at a lower risk. And then if you start going very degen with a low interest rate, if the stablecoin depegs, then you're first in line to be redeemed. And when you're redeemed, your debt gets canceled, but also part of your collateral. So this one you can play a little bit more, but this one is fixed yield, because on Kinetic, depending on the utilization rate, as more people are borrowing from the available supply, the interest go higher. In this one, you could set up a medium range APR, and then you know that that's the APR that you're going to be paying. So I think that one thing that is happening is that the products that are being launched on Flare are becoming more complex, and it's interesting to see the possibilities. But you also need to upgrade your game to be able to follow up with all the things that are happening.
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna be doing a lot of work from the DevRel side, also to educate users and our own developers on how they can leverage these opportunities. But I agree, I think that going forward, Flare will become probably one of the main hubs for DeFi in general, just because of the educational aspect. We have a lot of folks that are really, really smart and really into DeFi, but they are not gatekeepers, right? It's not like they're gonna do their own thing, tell their own friends, and just keep it for themselves. They're gonna take care, like yourself, way to educate others and share the information in a way that is easy to understand. And then, of course, they have to assess the risk and decide if they want to participate. But I think it's great to have this very broad community of DeFi educators.
That's so
I
cool.
think that one aspect that is very interesting is if you know DeFi and you hold XRP, for example, even if you hold you have a project on the XRP ledger, you could self-fund your project by doing DeFi. And that is a very powerful thing, because you have capital, and if that capital can start working for you in a way that could be a self-sustaining. And I think that a very interesting aspect is when you stop. For example, I have different businesses. I have my DeFi, I have my university, I have my app, I have my YouTube. And then I have things that I do on the real world as well. But because I have different sources of income, I do not rely 100% on any single one. So if my university is not doing that great, I have my other things that are going. If my app is not doing that great, I have other things that are going. And I think that when you're surviving stops being your motivation for a business, you start making different decisions. And I think that is very important, because if you want to launch a product, you either have to launch it and make decisions based on staying afloat. But if that product, the only motivation is not only staying afloat, but doing the best product possible, because you have other ways of making capital, then the decisions that you make are probably going to end up being a better product, because surviving is not your only motivation for that project.
That makes so much sense. And that's a good metaphor to translate into liquidity provision and staking pools and all of this stuff as well. It's always a wise choice to what's the word I'm looking for, where you spread out your portfolio instead of just putting all your eggs in one basket. There's a name, I can't think of it, but nope, it's gone. It's going to drive me nuts here. But basically, don't put all of your funds into one pool. The safest way is to try a bunch of different pools that are all, of course, within your risk tolerance here. And that way, if one of them tanks, you still have 3 or 4 other things that are, sitting there making you some returns here. I wish I could remember that word that I'm looking for. I think it starts with a D. Doesn't matter. I spent enough time thinking about that here, guys. I want to say I can't even believe this, Quantic. We have just under 850 viewers right now. As a guy who works, let's go. As a guy who works with Flare and who's been here hanging out with us, what would you like to tell our audience right now?
So I would like to tell people to pay attention to what's happening on December 3rd with the launch of Firelight. I think today we're like almost done with the space, so probably we won't go any deeper. But at some point, I think this deserves a full coverage because this is probably one of the most interesting innovations that has been taking place in crypto in the last year for sure. And this is something that is going to continue to increase. If you're looking at Aave, for instance, they are working hard on credit, and of course credit also needs insurance, right, in order to work at a massive scale and to have institutions on board and whatnot. So, and we are incubating this solution with Flare called Firelight, in which we're, they are attempting to create something even more, I would say, perhaps ambitious, which is how do you do like insurance programmable? And that's a very challenging but interesting problem to work on. And I think that the first version of this is going to be quite interesting for users, very safe, but it's going to continuously evolve. And I think that following this is going to be, a very good source of information that most of people in the space are kind of ignoring because it's like a little bit complex as well. But as well mentioned, it's worth paying attention. It's worth studying this kind of thing, and new opportunities will unlock for sure.
I'm incredibly excited here. Real quick, huge shout out to Crypto Optimist. The word I was looking for was diversify. Got to keep your maximize the diversification of your portfolio. Thank you so much, Crypto Optimist. I would not have remembered that, and I'm so grateful here. Will, you sounded like you wanted to say something, so please jump in.
Yeah, so two things real quick. One, I think that people often think about crypto as one thing, and I feel like how I've learned to see my crypto holdings is that I have different businesses. One is my treasury, that's my long-term holdings, and then I have assets that I'm putting to work either in borrowing and lending or liquidity pools, arbitrage, trading, whatever. And I treat each one as a business. And then I have to make sure that each one is giving me profits. And if it's not, then I cut them. I cut my losses, and then I step away. But do not think as one or nothing. You can think as each part, and you treat each asset as a different thing. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. And yeah, like you said, we can go more in depth. But the other thing that I wanted to ask Quantic, I feel like a lot of projects, they do a lot of marketing and do a lot of shiny things. But I think that the most impressive part of Flare is the part that is happening under the hood that people might not realize. So I would like to ask Quantic, in your opinion, what are the top 3 things that make Flare resilient against things that happened like the
Question.
liquidation? So I think that you are
Yeah.
seeing the behind the scenes.
Yeah. So one of the things that I can immediately share is like the way our engineers approach security and scaling our ecosystem efforts and deploying products and all of that is extremely careful. And I think that they have earned like, a reputation for doing this that has been criticized in the past because obviously this will come sometimes with delays, which all of us we hate. Like we are the when network, right? But at the same time, if you're going to be handling billions and you know that your protocol is here to stay and it's going to only grow over time, then you want to make sure that your systems are set up properly and you have done absolutely everything you can to guarantee the highest level of security and reliance for users. And I think that that's one of the things that Flare is really good at and creates like the resilient infrastructure that we really need. So that would be one thing. The second thing would be probably the community that has been around for a long time. As you know, the XRP army is very big. From the beginning, they have been supporting Flare with everything that happens after the airdrop. I wasn't here at that time, but I know that when these people commit to support you, they're gonna go with you until the end. And I think that you well would be perhaps an incredible example of how a community member becomes, someone that can actually teach others, become an entrepreneur in the network, become a content creator, and thrive as a human being, as a professional, make friends, like live the blockchain dream in that sense. And I think that that's really special. And the other thing is how Flare, I would say, approaches things when it comes to collaborations and partnerships. Is very careful. Uh, they do like perform a lot of due diligence, and I think that that over time also translates into having very strong partnerships that help you build a resilient ecosystem. So I would say those three main things is like something that makes Flare here. I'm pretty sure that Flare is gonna be here for a lot more time. That's like I'm fully uh I fully buy that vision.
I love
For
that.
sure. I mean, becoming a builder has changed my perspective on deliverables because like before I was building anything, I was like, why are these guys taking so long? And now that I'm building, I realize how hard it is to actually have a good product out there. And I think that even though we wanted dev assets years ago and everybody was expecting that, now that I've seen the time that they've spent polishing and making this the best product possible, I am super happy because, like I said, when everybody was crying and panicking, I was entering liquidity pools, and that shows the resiliency of the network. And I think that when you're talking about money, being able to trust the protocol, it's priceless because like the fast gains and the fast APRs that you could get for delivering a product fast, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter if you lose it all because there was a glitch or a oopsie.
Yeah, and the second you lose that trust, the second your reputation is tarnished, there's no coming back. It's a long haul, and likely if someone got into that position in the first place, the capacity to actually make that shift back to trustworthiness is very, very low. Guys, my goal for the end of this live stream is to hit 1,000. We are at 952 people watching this live stream right now. So my call to action to you, if you guys found any value in this live stream today, and there were crap tons of values, please just engage with this live stream link one more time. Give it a repost, give it a like, give it a comment, bookmark, comment under a comment, and let's push to 1,000. Honestly, it's going to happen in like 1.5 minutes. I can tell you that. So in that 1.5 minutes, Whale, I would love if you can kind of just tell us a little bit about how we can support you, how we can follow you. Maybe let us know what your YouTube channel is. And then, so yeah, people can kind of get behind you and learn from the stuff that you put out there. And yeah, just teach us all how to fish in the Flare Sea.
Guys, I have to drop because someone is waiting for me for about 15 minutes, but it's been an amazing stream. We definitely need to repeat this. I'm
Yes.
sorry for the for my friend that is waiting there, but you know, the Flare community deserves to hear all of the best, and I really appreciate that we did this space, all of us together. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Quantic. Appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye, Quantic. Thank you. Yeah, so this is on my channel, Flare Forward. And as you can see, I have tons of videos. I do interviews, I do news. Like this is an interview with the guys for the liquid staking. I talk about the Flare improvement proposal. And then I talk about like liquidity pools and a lot of the things that we've been talking. And then we have the Flare, the university. And then you can like subscribe on YouTube, but you can also join directly on flareforward.com. I've been on different shows like yours and other Deepato. So we have a lot of content here, and it's just been an insane. Like this one, it's a good one. 60 days of hardcore DeFi taught me. I didn't sleep for 2 months, but I learned a lot, and then I make the bad decisions so you don't have to.
Yes. Okay. I will absolutely be watching that one. 8 minutes of my life for 2 months of yours. Sounds like a pretty high ROI. That is for sure.
For sure. Yes.
Awesome, man. And then I'm not sure how's your timing looking, Whale. Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, please.
Awesome. I'm curious, could you give us a high level overview of the Fire something or other, that last site that you had that's coming up on, is it December 3rd, December 6th, one of those two? Firelight, there it is.
December 3rd. So
December 3rd.
basically, yeah, so there's I need to do a deep dive because I feel like a lot of things are coming up, but there's a few aspects of it. One is that you're going to be able to stake your XRP, and then that XRP is going to be like rented infrastructure. So if you have a validator, you're going to be able to rent that in the same way that you rent the space on Google Drive. So if you are a new network or a new protocol and you need validators, you can rent that space from other validators using Firelight. They're going to have insurance for the bigger protocols. So like if there's a big hack or whatever, then you're going to be able to insure, and you're going to get paid in XRP. And it's
Wow.
used, this is by Centaura, which is one of the biggest players in the space. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like I said, I need to do more of a deep dive into this, but it's coming December 3rd. And I think that we're going to see a massive TVL increase on the Flare network after Firelight launches.
Awesome. Okay. And then I actually do have one more question. Just sorry.
Mhm.
How much time do you have? Because I will probably take it all. I don't want to
Shoot.
shoot. Okay.
We're excited, so just go for it.
We are excited. We are excited. What can anyone operate a node, or are there pretty high? Is the bar pretty high on or things that you need to do?
For a validator, yeah, anyone can do it. It's not an easy, it's like a full-time job. You need to have a good chunk of Flare that it's like the self-mont that you have to stake to run a validator. And then you have the FTSO and then you have the FTC. So I'm not 100% sure. Quantic would probably be a better person to answer that. I know that anyone can do it. It's just that it's a full-time job. And we currently have burst nodes.
So it's a full-time job, but I'm wondering if the rewards make it worth doing as a full-time job.
I think so. I think if you have the knowledge and the infrastructure, it's probably a pretty good business. It's just, I know, like I've talked to the guy from 4DATS and Burst FTSO a few times. This guy is also very active on the network. And yeah, I think it's profitable because we have to remember that the Flare, when you pay gas, that gas does not go to the validators. But there is a structure. Yeah, so that's an important thing. So there's no front running, and like the higher fees are not like the validators do not have incentives to raise the fees like in Ethereum, which is a very important thing. But the way that the inflation happens, it's meant to reward good data providers.
Okay. That's super interesting. That's very unique as well. I'm gonna have to learn more about that here. Maybe we can talk a bit more about that the next time here as well here. But yeah, sorry, you have the dashboard here that shows how many nodes are actually in existence right now.
Yeah, let me think. How can I know how many we have?
If not, that's totally fine.
So I think right now we have 90 validators active on the Flare network.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever there's a price feed, if everybody agrees, then that price feed gets pushed into the network. And if there's a disagreement, that price feed gets ignored.
Okay.
And then if you miss if you're missing or pushing bad data, then you're not eligible for rewards. So the incentives are like, be a good player. If you're a good player, you get rewarded. And if you're a bad player, you get punished, which is a nice way to align incentives with the better outcome for everybody.
Yes. No, that's really cool. That's a new way to do decentralization that I am very much on board with. Not just having like finances. Well, I guess finances still are the incentive, but still the things you need to do to be able to get those financial rewards, keep the system ethical, which I'm definitely on board with.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Ethereum, the incentives are upside down because validators, they want slower transactions and higher fees, because if they have slower transactions, they can front run. Like if you're doing a trade and somebody can see it and they can pay a little bit higher, they can front run your transaction. They want to have higher fees because that's how they survive. And then the users, they want cheaper and faster transactions. So the incentives are upside down. So I do think that it's important to align the incentives for the better good and not just for the few.
That's huge, actually. I had no idea that that's how Ethereum worked, but that makes a ton of sense. It's very analogous to kind of how the stock market works with high frequency trading, being able to front run people's transactions, having access to that data, and then taking advantage of it off the back of the retail user is, I thought crypto was a solution to that, but turns out Ethereum, you've got some work to do. I'm calling you out.
I mean, yeah, for sure. The same thing with banks. Banks, they like slow transactions and they like high fees. So if
Mhm.
we're moving into a decentralized world, we do need to align the incentives. Otherwise, we're just changing the label from one to another, but not actually changing anything.
Absolutely. I love it. Excellent. Well, let me tell you, my friend, we've officially broken 1,000 viewers. We have 1,060 viewers just on the Web3 Matters account on X.
I
Really
love it.
appreciate
I
every
love
single
it.
one of you. This is awesome.
Amazing.
This is literally like absolutely one of our most successful live streams, and just hugely appreciative of you being here, my man. This is I'm so excited to get back into DeFi now. This is one of the first things in crypto that really grabbed my attention here. I remember writing newsletters on like concentrated liquidity and doing strategies on like Uniswap way back in the day. But it sounds like doing it on Flare, the opportunities seem incredible. B, I love the kind of the back end behind it. It's ethical. The incentives are aligned, which is amazing. They're doing it the right way. Plus, you have all these extra bonus incentives, like bonus percentages of Flare returns, up to like 40%. I saw in that one liquidity pool that you're in. Like this is amazing. I'm super excited here. So I think we probably should end it off here. We've been hanging out for about an hour and a half. Before we wrap it up there, Will, any kind of last messages, any kind of last tidbits you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, well, like always, I'm very grateful for you guys because you got me started into the vibe coding thing. Like before you guys, I was like, no, this shit doesn't work. And now that after watching your stream, I got super excited, and I've been able to create so many things. Like a lot of the activities that I used to have to be sitting in front of the computer waiting for something to happen, I've been able to like program and create a Telegram bot, and then
That's
I can
awesome.
just get a notification and I know what I have to do. So like so many things and so many rabbit holes that you guys got me in the right path. So very grateful for you guys, and I'm always excited to join. And whenever you want something, I'm super happy to join as well.
Ah, dude, you made my day, man. Honestly, I'm so happy to hear that. Actually, I vibe coded something for the first time the other day, or not, maybe not the first time, but something for the first time all on my own the other day, and I'm pretty fired up by it now here as well. So I feel the itch, and also it's talking about being itchy. Feel the DeFi itch now as well. So very excited to be diving into this, man. I'll definitely reach out probably over the weekend sometime if you've got some time here. I'd love to chat a little bit more about all this stuff with you here as well. Maybe we could deliver some more alpha to the Web3 Matters community who have shown up in a real way today.
Anytime.
Awesome, man. Perfect. On that note, guys, that is it for today. To our 1,100 viewers, I can't even believe I'm saying this right now. Thank you so much for being a
Amazing.
part of this conversation today. This was huge. If you have any insight, if you have any more questions, definitely drop them in on any Web3 Matters post. We will absolutely see those. Definitely make sure to follow Flare Forward. You're both on X and then on YouTube as well.
That's correct.
To gain all of this knowledge, if you want to become a professional DeFi utilizer, is the word I will use. You know, all that information is there for you to benefit. Yeah, Whale, super grateful. Thank you so much for being here today. And we will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome weekend.